I were to recommend one of these phones for taking portraits, it would have to be the one that has better fundamentals, and that is the iPhone. The detail difference is substantial, and it also feels like Apple has caught up with the one thing that Samsung really had them on: edge detection. This is something that you can tell Apple has worked on this generation specifically, because Samsung used to be noticeably ahead, but now it's starting to feel like the iPhone is just as hard to catch out. And that's both for humans, but also animals, like shockingly well. Animals that I can't imagine Apple and Samsung have sat there training their camera models on, but it's just impressive. It's pretty close to a DSLR quality background blur effect. Normal photos are kind of the same story too. The vast majority of the time you will look at what both phones take and you will think those are both sick shots. And so for a casual user, it doesn't really matter. Just pick the one whose style you prefer more. So that's the iPhone's more neutral look or Samsung's brighter, more vibrant one. But if we are getting out the magnifying glasses and analyzing, then just like with portraits, when you're taking 1x normal photos on your main camera, then yeah, the iPhone does pretty consistently get more detail in your shots than Samsung does. I mean, it's essentially just the fact that by default on auto, Apple is shooting in 24 megapixel compared to Samsung's 12. So if we crop into this thing's butt, then you can see more of the wood grain on Apple. And it does that while shooting faster too. Not by a mile like it used to, it's pretty close now, but look at this shot. This flamingo here was just about to take off. And can you see how the iPhone has practically frozen each drop of water on the spot? Whereas on Samsung, there's a very slight drift from the fact that it's taking just a little bit of extra time to capture. And then, as with every single other mode, skin tones are also more predictable. There's no weird blue tinges like you can see on the Samsung here. I've always enjoyed having dinner and interacting, and so the other day I actually took these out with me to try some macro photos. And Apple is able to focus closer, which is, I suppose, technically the job of a macro camera, but Samsung makes the food look so damn appetizing. I prefer Samsung's processing for these shots. Okay, there's an incredibly loud plane over there. So let's turn the cameras around and let's see which of these phones is actually better able to remove that noise. So this is the iPhone. Now moving over to the Samsung. So listen to the background noise. How clearly can you hear my voice and how much does that sound disappear? So yeah, I do find that Samsung is usually better at getting rid of the background noises, but just also that something is usually lost in the quality of your voice while it is doing so. And yes, the iPhone technically has one extra microphone, and yes, it has the whole audio mix feature set, but Samsung's actually been adding tons of stuff like this too, and I would say ultimately with audio, it is a bit of a toss-up. But just generally, with this generation, it does feel like Apple has really focused on ironing out their camera's weaknesses. Their zoom needed work. They've upgraded the zoom camera. The portrait mode had started falling behind. They've amped it up. I used to prefer Samsung selfies, but Apple's overhauled that experience entirely. But can Samsung turn the tables when things get dark? No, not really. But there are a couple of exceptions. So when you're taking videos at night, I would say both phones struggle an equal amount at correctly exposing the bright spots. Like, can you see how the name of this crepe cafe is practically unreadable on both? Bit of a crepe image, to be honest. And when you look close at the brickwork, they're also similar. Samsung is a bit grainier, Apple is a bit smoothed out, but I wouldn't say either is better. The detail level is pretty much the same. Like if we zoom into this sign over here, it's the same legibility, which I would say is a better indicator of information captured as opposed to sharpness or smoothness. But these are the key differences that I have noticed at night. One, Samsung's photos have better dynamic range than Apple's. Like this sign over here was super bright compared to the rest of the scene. Samsung could handle it, the iPhone couldn't. Two, iPhone's portrait mode holds its quality, whereas Samsung's falls apart quite a bit more, with it losing a grip on the way that colors should be presented and getting a bit too noisy. And three, that the iPhone is actually better at zooming in too when it's dark. Bear in mind, with each of these things I'm saying, while I'm showing you one example, I have double, triple tested each finding, and consistently, Apple is better at producing natural detail, whereas the S25 Ultra starts to scramble in these low light situations. It forces itself to have detail, even if it has to invent it to get there. So to bring this all together, if we just for a second put aside everything else about the rest of these phones, which of these two cameras would I choose and recommend more? I would say the iPhone. In my previous test, the iPhone 16 Pro Max just edged out the S25 Ultra, but now with the 17, I would say the gap has become significant. Now, that doesn't mean that Android doesn't have great options. You know, Vivo is killing it. Oppo, these companies are both in this upper echelon. Xiaomi too, in some ways. But I think Samsung has to work on both color consistency and also detail in photos if they want to keep up with them. Oh, also, if you're wondering what I use to take that shot, it's literally my phone case. Because Toras cases have these rotating stands baked into them, you don't need tripods or fancy equipment. You are just always ready to take the shot you want.